How the heck are you guys? I am Fastidious. Welcome to the channel and welcome to the 10 worst legendary heroes in Watcher of Realms. And also welcome to a long-awaited guest by both me and many viewers. I think the most requested guest that's never been on the channel, Mango. How are you doing, my man? You have become such an amazing presence on YouTube and on Discord, on my Discord, on the Shire Slayer Discord. You are, introduce yourself. You get an arena expert, a top score expert. What's going on? How you doing?
Yeah, man, here we are. Thanks for inviting me. It's pretty weird because I'm usually just uploading some arena content, but I'm always open to new stuff. And ranking champs is always fun, so here we are.
Yeah, absolutely. I think especially when it's like the first time someone's on the channel, I think rankings are so good because we can show our personality a bit and we can give some hot takes. So without further ado, this is going to be the bottom 10, not the top 10, the bottom 10 heroes in WoR, specifically the worst legendaries in Watcher of Realms.
Fastidious.
Fastidious.
I actually did this video for the first time ever with my first collab ever with Dr. D's. So shout out to Dr. D's. Everyone go follow him as well. But that was almost a year ago. And surprisingly, I have the whole list that Dr. D's and I made over here. I'll show that to you at the end. And you can tell me, Mango, if anything surprises you. But I will tell you guys right off the bat, right out the gate, that part of the motivation to make a new video and bring on a new collaborator like you, Mango, is one of the lowest ranked, or I guess highest ranked, because it was the worst, heroes was Zealous. And now Zealous is how good, would you say? Ridiculous.
100%. People will realize that some champs have changed, some haven't, but
yeah,
that's life. Yeah. We get so many legendaries every time that it's actually hard to keep the spots.
Absolutely. We get new legendaries, new bad legendaries. We also get new content, which can unlock previously bad legendaries. And then, of course, and this is kind of a testament to one of the things Moonton has done the best in 2025, they've been buffing units, right? So Beatrix, Zealous, these guys were some of the worst units in the game. Now they're some of the best. Let's go through it. And then maybe when we do a video like this in 9 or 10 months further, some of these guys will be the newly buffed, really high-end units.
We will see.
We will see. So let's kick it off. And guys, if you like this, please go check out Mango's channel. Link in the description and the top pinned comment. There's a lot of stuff you're going to get on his channel you cannot get on mine, right? Really high-end PvP stuff. Just not something you're ever going to see here, basically. Maybe for fun on a couple streams, but if you want consistent, good instructional content like that, please check it out. So your number 10, Mango, who you got?
My number 10, to start, we have Celine.
Celine.
Now, it's pretty fun because right now, she's being used in the Boreas Codex, but I swear I have never seen her being used out of, like, in any other area. She's just, like, so pointless considering we get so many new fighters every single patch. The faction, well, not the faction, but the rarity we get the most champs out of.
It's definitely the highest populated class. It's kind of crazy. I think she's a good shout. I also have her in my honorable mentions, and maybe if there's anyone that's not on my list and not on your list and not on my honorable mentions, you can shout them out. But for me, she's just really bad, but not bad enough. Like you said, she has relevance in a codex. And then she does have potential, I think, for people progressing in things like single target arena. She's pretty easy to build, but that doesn't mean she's not terrible. She's pretty bad.
Yeah. She's done there for sure.
Yeah, she also looks really cool. And this is actually something I talked a lot about in the last video with Zealous. It's like, this is probably one of the cooler looking female characters in the game. And she's so bad, it sucks. Like that's how Zealous used to be. And I really feel like she needs a buff, right? They need to do her justice.
Oh, yeah. One of the things I hate the most is that all the female characters have pretty similar models, and Celine actually looks so cool. Like, I love, like, the female armorer champs, like
Absolutely.
This kind of champs.
Yeah, she's kind of like it's in like the style of like a Falsia, where she kind of looks like ready for battle and badass, but in a totally different version.
For sure.
Yeah, I'd really love to see her get a little more love. And I think you touched on something pretty interesting right before we hop into my number 10. It's just the fighters are so overpopulated. The best fighters are so much better than the worst fighters that, yeah, a lot of the ones you're going to see on this list and probably the honorable mentions are going to be fighters because the bar is set ridiculously high that so many of these are strictly inferior to the good ones, right?
Yeah, even the good old fighters have been power crept by the new ones, like Silly2 or some kind of OP champs that 1 year ago you would be thrilled to pull, and now you just don't care at all.
The first time they ran a Zeal2 banner, it might have been like the hypest banner in the history of the game at that point. And like
I remember.
Yeah, like September, October 2023. And now over 2 years later, just about exactly 2 years later, she's kind of like, oh yeah, I mean, if your account's on day 50, that's pretty cool, right?
Totally.
All right, let's unveil my number 10. Here I've got my boy Cratch. So I actually tried pretty hard to leave him off my list, but it was impossible. He's still that bad. However, I did want to at least give him his flowers. I don't know if you've tried him there yet. I've tried him a couple times just on the test server. He's pretty good. Why can't I find him? There we go. He's pretty good in the Spellbane mode.
Matrix.
In the Spellbane mode of Matrix.
Yeah.
So like there are a lot of knocks against Cratch, ways that he's bad, but one of the main ones is his stupid range. But this range is actually perfect for Matrix. So
yeah, it's only for that. I've been trying to avoid placing him inside the list, and I have the exception because I actually feel like he's kinda usable as a BP unit in GVG. Like not great because we're getting too many units, but I just try to give him some love, but it's actually hard to justify pulling for him or whatever.
Yeah, I think it's well said. Like very, very early on, he's okay in AoE Arena, especially if you have one of the good lords, but that's very early on. He's unusable in something like Gear Aid 3, which is crazy because he's a marksman. So it kind of is Matrix right now. And then while he is good for GVG, and I also tried to use that to justify to get him off my list, you have to skill him up for that, and you probably need some awakenings. And if you have awakenings into Cratch and skills, that's kind of like an unfortunate situation to be in. So I didn't think that should be rewarded. One honorable mention I have is Ma, and because he's like the best of the crappy units for GVG BP, that's why I did that. But yeah, pretty solid.
Yeah, for sure.
Pretty solid counterpoint. I'm hoping, this is my hope, that when I do this video again in 9 or 10 months, Cratch will not be on the list. We'll see what happens.
My hopes are low for that.
Yeah. And I will also say a knock against him. For him to be good in Matrix, which he can be, you need a pretty well promoted exclusive artifact, and you need him A5. And that's like a lot to need. You need 6 copies of this crappy guy.
His main issue is just that he's like his passive at A5. It's when he becomes actually good, because before that he just have like the overcharge, or I don't remember how the game names it, but
I think it's overload.
Yeah.
Misfire overload.
Overload, like Ingrid, but the bad version of Ingrid overload.
Yeah, this misfire thing is crazy. It's a 50-50 proposition until he's A5. That's when it's removed. That he's going to have a full 5 seconds of just nothing. And he also loses his rage regen auto, so he's not gaining any rage, he's not nothing, he's just there, basically like a broken down Setrum. It is okay, who do you have at number 9, Mango?
Well, you talk about him, but Mo. As we've said before, there are so many good fighters that can just one-shot enemies that having one legendary it's pretty much like a gluttony, but legendary, and you have to invest. As a legendary, you have to invest in skill crystals that are not easy to come by early on, and then such a expensive ultimate is 1,000 cost without skill ups. He's just all over the place. The only thing he's good for or decent is BP, as you said before, but for me, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, the only reason I left him off, and he probably would have been like 11, maybe 12 for me, is just because he really is like the best for BP of our like normal units, like non-lords, non-ancient exclusive. And now that you can pull him as of like the anniversary update, previously I did have him ranked so low because it was like, well, you're not going to put stones into him, you know, but now you can pull him. If you have an A5 Maw, I mean, that is something. That's a lot of BP. I will say though, it's got to be one of like the worst, most poorly conceived kits in the game, right? Because he's kind of built, he's like full single target. He has this horrible range, right? That one tile range. So there's not that much functionality. And the way you boost him is like by killing targets. So which means like he doesn't work against the single target bosses you would want to bring him against. Moreover, like this execution thing is required for him to gain these boosts. You can't execute an elite or a boss. So the only place functionally I feel like that the design would make you want to use him, bosses, he's unusable. So he's the kind of unit where it's just like were they thinking? That's what I wonder. Were they using their brain?
And not even in arena, because with that range, you cannot place a tank in front of him, or not even like behind a wall, because he's just one tile. And then if you build him with HP, he will just not do enough damage to justify building him.
Yeah, he needs, I'll just say really quick, you let me know if you have any other thoughts, like a 2-tile range in front, allow somehow you can get this boost by killing or another boost by something else, so he can get some boost against bosses, and then make all his damage based off of HP, so it makes sense. Because otherwise, I just think he's really dumb.
Damage based on HP would just fix his kit like
a lot.
Not completely, but it would make him much, much better.
Yeah, we need some condition here that like when you execute an enemy or you hit the same enemy 10 times, then you trigger these boosts, something like that, and then make this an HP boost, not an attack boost. Okay,
exactly.
Cool. Let me show you my number 9. Let's do the big unveil. Here I've got Lynx. Did Lynx make it on your list?
Lynx, it's on my list, and some people don't know, but my Lynx actually has 1 soulstone on it.
No way.
To get from A4 to A5, but I also have 1 copy, so if we get like gifted reset books, I can take her to A5 again.
Wait, but so you put a soulstone into Lynx for A5. She does have a good A5, but
she's terrible.
But you did that even though you know how bad she is because you said she's on your list.
Well, no, I know how terrible she is. She's just useless, and I tried to like use her a lot, like even in GBG. But Northerners in GBG are not good enough. Her damage is not good enough in like high-end GBG, and then as a marksman, she's just mid. Like her damage is nothing too crazy. I don't know. It's all over the place.
That's why she made my list. I actually tried to keep her off the list too because I actually kind of like her, especially if you're not in like a high-end guild. I think she is good in GVG. But because they're making Winter's Bite more and more common, right? We have more units that can do it. And because you can kind of get away with just like 1 or 2 units, you don't need to like do this whole... I remember when she came out, people were theory crafting, oh, you'll do like this whole Winter's Bite team and it'll be this nonstop onslaught. That's like overkill, right? So she's just kind of a unit you can leave at home. But even all that said, that would have been enough if the damage, in my opinion, was like okay. But the damage is really, really subpar.
Yeah, exactly. And also, her basic attack only hitting 1 target makes it so that there is no point in using her as a Winter's Bite unit because you can just run all their units like Ymir that are way better. And if you need DPS with the ultimate, you can just run Razak, you can run Fenris as a Northerner. That are just way better options.
Yeah, I think that's kind of enough said on her. I will say she's the kind of unit that could also be off this list in the future. It seems like they want to keep investing more and more into Northerners. And I also think she'd be a very high-end buff candidate. I got to say, though, if they buff her and they make her usable, they better give her another skin where she looks like not this.
They can make a skin where she becomes human or I don't even know what
that'd be great. Yeah, they take off the furry costume. It's just some dude. It's like Chuck.
Exactly.
David.
So
number 8, who do you have?
So my number 8 is Absang.
Okay. He also made my list.
Yeah, he's never leaving the list. He's just I don't see the point in just not even leveling him up to level 60. He just does nothing. His range is decent enough, but his damage is terrible. His multipliers are like 100%, 200%, just useless. In my opinion.
Yeah, pound for pound, he is one of the worst DPS units in the game. That's including like epics too. It's so poorly conceived, this kit. He's coded like a weak single target unit, but they envision him as this like melee AoE piercing damage anti-air guy. But I mean, this is insane, right? This goes up to what, 500% damage in a singular burst? Right? Like, what is that? To 3 units? I don't, and it's not even like that cheap. Even if this was 100 costs and he was just spamming it over and over, it would still suck. I mean, there is nothing to this kit. His stats are bad. He is, where do you think he would rank on the most in need of a buff legendaries? I feel like he might be number 1.
Oh yeah, I think he's number 1, and I think he can be easily fixed. Like, he's already a horde. We can place him as a tactician.
For sure.
And then you just rework his kit in like, not even his kit, you can just up the multipliers a bit, like 100% extra or something like that. It would be super easy to fix, but it's like top 1 in need of a rework.
If they want this, because like this is a singular burst, right? This is not like, oh, this goes and then for 10 seconds he's doing increased damage. It's like 1 moment that he's doing this. So it needs to be way, way, way more, right? Like we're talking 800% damage and maybe lower the cost a bit, or make it like 700 cost, 800 cost, make him a tactician, you move him around, and then for 15 seconds or 20 seconds or 25 seconds, he gets some new kind of boost. The last thing I just want to say about him, I don't want to waste the viewer's time, but go through these awakenings. These are some of the worst awakenings in Launcher Realms history. Like, you could have him at A5 and then give him each one again, so you 2x all them. Like, his base could be A5, and he would still be as bad as we're describing. It's comical.
They're awful.
It's so bad. All right. Let's see what I've got here. All right, I'm curious if you had her on your list. This is where I've got my Gwendolyn.
I don't actually have Gwendolyn, but she could be on my honorable mentions.
I have used her a decent amount, especially when she came out. And then I used her for a while as like for cheeky stuff, cheeky strategies with Valkyra on the top like GD1. But I kind of would use her when I would do takeovers so people didn't feel bad that they had her. I'm like, see, I used her, you know? She is the only limited in the history of the game to not have a rerun besides Kagiri, but she came out almost a full year before Kagiri. Actually, that's not true. Also
Exactly.
Dahlia, but she came out 9 months before Dahlia. She is basically unusable. She's not much of a healer. She's just a shielder. She does some weird damage when her shield pops. Maybe that's only from her awakenings, but it's just so convoluted, so strange. Again, poorly conceived is going to be the theme for a lot of this stuff. Her base stats aren't even that good. Everything's HP based. If she's going to be just a shielder, give her 14,000, 15,000 base HP, not 12.5. All in all, there's just not much meat on this bone. I think the reason they haven't rerun her, even though she was the third limited ever, is because they realized they couldn't rerun her and make any money unless they fully rework her, and maybe they don't feel up to the task. She is, I guess, for a lot of things, still like the best shielder in the game, but she's not a good enough shielder for that to be relevant, and she's not really bringing anything else to the table.
Funny enough, her attack is not really low at all. Like, she's close to 6,000. But I think unless we get a rework of the Northerner faction, or I don't know, but with current Northerner system, she's just unusable because shields are not a reliable source of survivability in this game. You really need a good healer, and you're never gonna run a healer and her together just to protect 1 or 2 units.
Another weird thing with her is like the shields, they're all here. They never list the duration. They clearly have a time when they expire. It just kind of is what it is. She's only putting them out here, and then she's got the one really big shield here, but then it only gives extra shield. It's still single target, and it just gives an extra weaker shield to units that are in surrounding range.
And her ultimate is super expensive. It's a 1,200 ultimate.
Yeah.
It's just one of the most expensive ultimates in the game, I think.
Yeah, so she only gives that full shield also from that super expensive ultimate to the surrounding units, the allies around the main target. If she's A3 and no one's putting soul swords into hers, that means you've pulled 4 copies of a limited hero. I don't think you'd have to be so random on your luck. No one's unloading on a Gwendolyn banner. They also call her strong CC. Her freezes are not strong. All in all, I think she just needs a full rework, wouldn't you say?
100%. Unless the faction or her kit gets a rework, she will just not be used at all, considering we're getting really OP healers like Earlys.
Yeah, I mean, I think Draylen's a much better shielder, and this is just like a tank from her same faction. So all in all, she needs some love, and then they can finally rerun her banner. Who do you have at number 7, Mango?
I have Giselle, and not really because I think there are worse options. However, it's one of the few champs that already have been reworked, and she's still as unusable or as terrible as she used to be. Her rework was just nothing. It didn't have an impact at all. And not even her awakenings are good. Like, I don't see her being used in the future, even if we get content for her.
She's a disaster. She's a lot higher on my list. So maybe I'll save my final thoughts till then. But again, one of the weakest characters I've ever encountered. If people go back to the original test I ever did on her, it was like Halloween 2023. One of the first things I ever did on the test server, I brought her into an XP raid, and I was like, wait, she's only hitting 1 unit at a time because you have this in animation, and it's so infrequent. They say the frequency of the damage goes up as her attack interval goes down. I don't see it. I mean, yes, she did get that buff, and I think that's why she should be so high on the list, because she still is completely unplayable. And you're hitting an ancient non-lord legendary, which can be the hardest thing in the world, and you're wasting it on this pile of garbage. I don't know how she's the same rarity, the same like bucket of summons as Valara, right? That's insane.
Oh yeah, and they refuse to like give proper reworks even when people ask. I think she's just like a top priority for ancients. We don't really need terrible ancient units. Ancient units should feel like exclusive, or you should be happy to pull any ancient unit, in my opinion, considering how hard they are to get. And even more considering we don't have pity for them, and you can go 300, 400, 600 summons without getting one of them.
Yeah, I actually think, in my opinion, she'd be the top of my list for a buff because she's such a tremendous disappointment. Even if you were on day 1 of your account, you will not use her. Maybe just to take advantage of base stats, but even still, they're not that good.
No.
So by day 10, maybe you've moved on. You're just going to use epics instead. She's really bad. Okay, let's go to my number 7 here. This is where I'm going to have Karosa. Did Karosa make your list?
Yeah, she made my list.
But yeah, I'll keep it really short. Karosa's unusable as a unit, like completely unusable. They tried to make her some kind of damage, but she has some of the lowest stats ever. There's no real support here. There's kind of nothing. She's also one of the ugliest designs in the game. She clearly is one of the very old units. She looks hideous in my opinion. The only thing she brings to the table is this, which is why she's not like even worse, right? She's not higher up towards number 1 worst unit. Because of this, there are I've done it on takeovers. There are moments where you have 9 units and you don't know who the 10th's going to be. It doesn't matter. She doesn't need to be deployed for this to happen. If you bring even another mage, now at least someone's getting extra damage, right? So at least it's the definition of literally something.
Exactly. And her attack is just 2000. It's not even an HP unit attack. Like, her attack is terrible. Not even with a Tear of Twilight you can fix that.
It's so insulting. And I think they do it because they're like, oh, well, she gets 50% attack when she's doing her ultimate. It's like there are other units in this game, like Ardia or something, that get 50% attack. So she's getting 30% attack, right? But actually, no, I'm right. It's 50% with skill ups. She's getting 50% attack, but she starts at 7,900 and her skills are amazing. Yeah. So even if they're like, no, but it's fair because she gets a boost. It's like, who cares if she gets 50%, goes up to 60% with skill ups? This is a joke, right? I mean, it's not even close. You could build maybe, 8,000, 9,000 attack on her unless you did an all attack build, which you would never do because it undermines the rest of her kit.
It's actually impossible to build her with high attack. Even Ardia can get like 30k, 35k attack. And I don't think Karosa can reach even like 15k.
No. She has like the same base attack as I'm trying to think of a good example. Maybe like an A0 Diao Chan, like an A0 A1 Diao Chan. Let's look at that. It's even less, right? It's
even less.
Yeah, it's like maybe like a A0 Dolores would be closer. Let me pull that up. Even A0, I mean, nothing. I can't find anything that would be comparable. And keep in mind, those units are inspiration units, so you can literally only focus attack. That's how you get your Diao Chan to 14, 15k with endgame gear, because you're only focusing attack. That is not an option for her. She needs to have other stats. So it's unthinkable. You're not going to get a higher attack build than 11k. So even if you get 50% more attack, who gives a crap? That's like 16, 17k attack with your very brief max situation. All right, that's going to be Karosa. Who do you have at number 6?
I have Admiral Claw.
Admiral Claw. All right, he was one of my honorable mentions.
Most pull units.
One of your most... Oh, so this is out of spite.
No, I wish. I've tried to use him, but the problem is his kit is just... He grabs the units and brings them to them, but he's a chaotic, so he's always at low HP. So most of the time he just ends up suiciding, and it's just nothing. There is no way to build him, because if you build him tanky, he will just not do damage. And I don't know, I think there is no way to build him that is worth using.
I agree. The reason I have him on honorable mentions is he can hit really hard because he has so much penetration built in. It will fall off your account very quickly, but I do think he's a cool unit to pick up in your first month or two for that reason. And he is good in the Nightmare faction, the faction trials, at least up until 12. So he's bad. He's really bad. But I'm just explaining why I left him off.
I gotta say that at least he's actually fun to use. That's the only positive point I see.
Yeah. But yeah, it doesn't make sense because he'll pull units closer to him when the whole way he's, exactly like you said, he's always vulnerable because he's low health and that's when he's at his strongest. Then they're going to kill him. And it kind of takes away from the fact that he has this cool range. Yes, the nice range helps him go reach out and grab those units, but now he doesn't have anyone in front of him protecting him. They're right there. And it's silly. It is. I actually think part of the reason he probably made your list and didn't make mine is I've actually never pulled him. So maybe that's why I don't feel as personally hurt by him.
I think I have him A4 or A5s, and I don't think I will use him at all.
That's crazy.
Yeah, A4. I just checked.
All right, so I got Lasir here. He actually rose, so I guess fell on my list. I think I had him at 9 or 10 last time. I don't want to spoil that. We'll show that at the end. But with Zealous becoming an excellent anti-healer now, Lasir becomes even less relevant. So the only reason I think you could argue he's not like the worst unit in the game is because he has a very rare ability, and that is putting out anti-heal, right? A heal block
Just
against enemy units. But yeah, previously he was by far the worst. But if you don't have Artemis and if you don't have Demi, things like that, you can use Lysier. But now with Zealous too, it's like, okay, we've got 3 options. I think at that point, it's like, I don't think you ever need to use Lysier. The last thing I'll say, and I think, I don't know, I haven't talked about this much. I don't know if you have on your channel or other people have, but you are able in a much more simple way now to build enough DPS on your units pre-Gear Raid 122 and higher that you don't need anti-heal at all. That this is such a specific skill that you really only need for like, even, you don't even really need it for 22 if you have good enough gear. It's really 23 and 24 you need it. So it's only 2 of the hardest stages in the game. By the time you reach that, it's kind of unthinkable to me that you wouldn't have pulled a Zealous or an Artemis. So that reason I pushed him up the list. I'm saying he's even worse because he's so bad. It's terrible. They kind of wanted him to be anti-heal, crowd control, and DPS, and he's not crowd control, not DPS, and the worst anti-heal option we have in the game.
Exactly. The main issue is that once we had only stages up to 21, you could make use of him because his anti-heal was decent enough to clear 21, but for 23, 24, you just cannot use an anti-heal that lasts like a few seconds compared to other champs like Celus, Artemis. It's just not enough to justify using him.
Yeah, it's well said. And like, yes, before people come at you and me in the comments, you can use him on 24, but the amount of other amazing heroes and gear you're using, you're like beating it in spite of him, not because of him, you know?
Exactly. There is no point in using him if you have Valara, you have A5 Nessa. Of course,
Yeah.
you're going to clear it.
Yeah, it's crazy. Okay, number 5, who do you have? We're in the top 5 worst for each of us.
I have Orim.
Orim,
the
okay.
dwarf that has never been. I mean, I think the only place I've actually used him was in faction trials to boost the damage from Soul Cadence. But out of that, I just don't see the point. It's one of those champs that has the same issue as Mo or even Admiral Claw, where if you want him to do damage, you just have to give up on HP. And if you want him to tank, his kit is just not good enough to use him above other units like Olag or other tanks.
Yeah, he's horrendous. He's unusable. I actually just unveiled it. I've got him at number 3 worst. His only relevance is that he exists as an infernal unit and he's not a healer, so he will be helping your Twin Fiend or your Pyros or of course your Soul Cadence. But aside from that, he's just going to exist as a bad tank. He's bringing nothing else to the table besides damage. And like you said, there's no way to build him as a tank and get damage out of him. There's really no hybrid functionality. He's very, very bad. The only interesting thing in his entire kit is this over here, but it's so temporary. It's crazy. 15 seconds, at least make it a minute. Frankly, what I think they should do is scale. I've said this since the day he came out. Scale these back. So make it a 10% crit rate boost. And actually 20 is enough, but 20% crit damage boost, but make it permanent. If he's deployed, everyone on the battlefield gets it or something. So at least it could help people progress with their builds. Aside from that, no one has ever given a crap about 15 seconds up to 25 seconds. It's nothing. The rest of the kit's just horrendous.
Once you are endgame or even mid-game, you are most of the time crit capping, not just because you are forcing it, but because your good pieces will tend to have crit rate, crit damage, or even attack speed. So most of the time you don't really need, or you're not gonna use that extra 10 or 20% crit. It just goes to waste.
Yeah, so like they should just do it, and then it wouldn't be so overpowered. It would just help people during the first several months of their account when they're progressing and learning the game. And then at least it'd be like, hey, you got Orim early and he helped you progress. It would still suck when you pull him later on, but it's just terrible. The other thing they could do is like maybe if they added some extra mitigations to his kit, right? And maybe like when he hit like every additional, let's say 1,000 defense you built on him, he got like 4% more damage reductions, right? And then make his damage defense based or something, then he could be really interesting. Yeah, without something like that, you just got a terrible tank and terrible support and a terrible DPS.
He's terrible at everything he does.
That's a good note to end on. He is terrible. Okay, this is where I had Absen. Enough said. I just had him slightly higher than you. We both think he sucks. Who do you have at number 4, Mango?
So at number 4, I have Azor.
Nice.
The dwarves are going together.
I also put the dwarfs together, but just a little bit higher on my list. I got Azor all the way at number 2.
Yeah. He has kind of the same issues as Orim. There are just better options. You're not going to use him when you can use some chance, like even Olag. I mean, he's not really a fighter. He's not really a tank. He's just a mix in between that is just not enough. You could build Olag being 1 week into the game and he will be more useful than Azor. And now he's not even used as a damage booster for Twin Feet or Sorkadons.
The only argument to use him is, well, he's a nightmare unit. He can be your 4th nightmare unit. But you can't make that argument when Baron exists, right? Like, he's just 100% better. He's a much, much, much better tank, and then you don't have to invest into this absolute piece of garbage that is Azor. He's completely parable. He had his moment in the sun for like, what, 4 or 5 weeks when Apocalypse 2 came out. But since then, I mean, the amount of power creep that has kind of trivialized Semra and the amount of amazing solutions there are for it with so many different comps, so many different tanks, so many different factions, he's so not relevant. There's no one would use him there, like that I could ever think of.
And the other issue is he scales out of defense. And for tanks in this game, you pretty much want triple HP bonus.
Yeah.
So if you build him with full tank, full defense, he won't survive for long enough because you really need HP on defender. So he could just get rework, and even if they would change it so that he scales out of HP, would actually be way better and at least usable, I think, in some ways, really early into the progression into the game.
Yeah, I think that's well said. Another thing, and this is so funny, and this is like another moment, it's like, did you actually test this character? He's obviously one of the oldest characters in the game. They gave him very low defense. Extremely low, right? Compared to someone like, let's pop open like a Regulus, right? Who was released at the same time, one of the global launch guys. We're talking 4,200 defense. So they gave Azor like 1,000 less. And I'm sure in their heads, they're like, we got to give Azor less defense. He'll be too OP since he's defense based. They could have given him 6,000 defense and we'd still be saying he's pretty bad. Like, it doesn't scale at all. He's got poor multipliers. Like you said, make them HP based. And honestly, these units need some kind of innate reductions, some kind of second life, some kind of shields, something to make them relevant, because he's just nothing. He has mediocre stuns, god awful damage, and horrendous base stats. I mean, look at that, 23.2k HP.
It's terrible.
It's terrible. I think that, let's see, what is Wrath's HP? 21.7.
Pretty much the same.
It's crazy. It's comical. And then you've got fighters like this who are through the roof.
Exactly. And one of the main issues with tanks in this game is you pretty much want them to have like some kind of unyielding or shields or anything that makes them survive long enough or survive big hits. It's one of the most important things in this game.
Yeah, I mean, compare Azor, not to go on a big tangent, but compare it to Malvira, who has literally all of that, right? She has second life, she has shields, with her Awakenings especially. She has damage based off of her tank stats, off of her HP. And then wouldn't you know it, she's incredibly relevant, and he's not. And he's actually incredibly irrelevant. He's horrendous. I really couldn't recommend anyone to build him less. All right, let's show my number 4. This is one who is, I'm wondering if he's just really high on your list or maybe you left him off. This is where I have Shamir.
Oh, Shamir. I actually don't have him in the list, but it's on my honorable mention because...
Okay, fair enough.
I think I did the list, but to be fair, he could pretty much be inside the list at a high spot because he's just awful.
So I got Shamir so high, so I'm ranking him so poorly because I gave him, you'll see it on this list, I didn't even put him on my bottom 10 last time. And it was because I thought I saw potential in this kit. I thought we were going to get content. I was trying to be ahead of the curve, and I was thinking, oh, well, he'll be relevant soon enough. And wouldn't you know it, absolutely not. He's just horrible in every aspect. They want him to be some kind of crowd controller, DPSer, supporter, or debuffer, and he's doing nothing correctly. They gave him his Hell's Lament, which is so bizarre. A Hell's Lament attack speed amulet, so you can't even find use that way, and you can't even really find use out of his exclusive that way because you don't really want any Hell's Lament unit to have an attack speed amulet, let alone him, so it's not like you can put it on someone else. He's got okay base stats, which I wanted to shout out. That's very high, not very high, on the higher end of damage for a mage, especially with like AoE functionality. But all in all, there's just not much at all here. For him to do much at all, you need at least the A1. Ideally, you're going to want everything. And even still, you're going to be so disappointed. He also would be in like my top 3 for most in need of a buff.
Yeah, for sure. And one of the main problems he has is, well, as of other champs in the list, his multiplayers are so low. You can see some of his skills just do 15% AoE damage. Like, in which world is that good enough to for a mage, considering we have Ingrid, we have even lords that are not so like I don't know, Morrigan, Demi. They all do insane damage, and then we have this kind of mages with a faction that does not help him at all and low multipliers.
Yeah, he has nothing in his kit that's like when he's shielded, blah blah blah, right? He's just a bad mage and a bad faction.
Nothing.
And yeah, there's no thought that goes behind this, right? They're probably thinking, oh, well, it's 15% AoE, goes up to what, 25%, but it's over 10 seconds. It's like, okay, cool. So it's 250% damage?
Yeah, his kit actually looks so cool, but it's just no point in using him.
Yeah. This is low cost, so that's something, right? This is 400 cost, so you can spam it. But
Yeah.
frankly, if it would be a simple fix. Drowning Water is pretty cool, especially once you have his awakenings. This needs to be like 60% per second, 80% per second, you know, maybe 100, who knows? We can play around with it, but then he'll be relevant. And then maybe you do want that attack speed amulet and you want him spamming attacks. But until then, right, he's the ultimate bench warmer.
That and a talent would actually fix him, and it would be super easy.
True. Okay, if you don't mind, I think I'm going to show my number one since we already said them, and then we can finish with your top three, okay? I won't spend long because we kind of both already spoke about her, but this is where I put Giselle. Now, is Giselle actually the number one worst unit in the game? Maybe. But does she hurt the most to pull? Is she the biggest crime in the game that she exists in her current state? That I think yes, and that's why I ranked her number one, and partially because hopefully Moonton sees this and they're like, oh, that Fastidious guy thinks she's the worst in the game. Maybe that could contribute 2% more to them considering another buff. This is a crime. This is so bad. It's so unacceptable. Like, at least, I don't know, make her so if you're on a new account, you could use her. But as it stands now, I think she is unusable. I think she's a disaster. The idea that a new player would put skill crystals into any of this absolute garbage, even skill dust, I think it is an affront to the standard the game has set with other heroes. And that is where I will end it. I hate her.
Oh, yeah. And one of the funny things is with other champs, when they get reworked, you remember what they used to be. Giselle is so terrible that you're not even able to remember how bad she was, because you have never used her and you don't really know what she used to do. She's just as bad as she was 2 years ago.
That's the perfect point, Denon. If anyone remembers what they changed in this godforsaken kit, let us know below. The only thing I remember is this stupid-ass bond skill. Who cares? And it's all like arena-focused. Who's using Giselle in the arena? Do they know how the arena works?
She can do damage.
Kagiri and Sung Wukong exist on every account, and you're going to bring this piece of crap? Come on. All right, your top three, Mango. Let's knock them out.
Balderon.
Yeah.
Okay, my top three is Lynx, Carosa. We have talked about them.
Okay.
And then I have Kaede, or however you want to call it, because everyone calls this guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kade.
And
you have him as your number one. Okay, wow. You got to tell me about that.
Mean, if I'm honest, I wouldn't place him top one. If I put the list in order, he would be pretty much like a top 8. But the issue with him is we are getting such hard content where enemies have such high HP that his ultimate requires someone to kill an enemy just so that his ultimate gets active, like his Crow, the Storm Beak, which is like an AoE damage bird that he spawns. You really need someone that is helping him just to summon the bird. And now we have champs, AoE damage champs like Valara, like Ingrid, that can just do it with basic attacks. At this point, he just needs that requirement to be gone. And if his ultimate would be just summoning the bear, he would be crazy. I remember using him back in the days in Anti-Air Arena, and he was actually really cool. But now there are just better options everywhere.
Yeah, I think it's really, really well said. And he's a cool place to end. And I like that you said you wouldn't have put him number one if it was in order, because I don't think that would make sense. But I think he easily could be on this list. I'll show my honorable mentions now. He did make my honorable mentions. I didn't put him on my list because he can still be really annoying in GVG, especially at lower levels. Like those defenses are really annoying. And then I kind of wanted to honor, I'm sure you remember, maybe some OG players remember, there was like 3 or 4 weeks where he was like on the top leaderboards in, I think, anti-air and AoE arena.
Yeah.
Which was very interesting.
He was super fun to use.
Yeah, but like you said, he has one of the most, if not the most confusing kits in the entire game. He has 3 different kinds of these bird summons. They each have their own effects. The one you really want is the Stormbeak. It is very conditional. There's got to be some kind of sacrifice for it to happen. It all feels very out of your control, which I don't think a lot of players like, especially in PvP modes, where it's not just like plug and press play. You want to feel like you have agency, and I feel like that is
Yes.
lost. With
And
him,
also
that
his
is lost.
awakenings are nothing crazy. You really need the if I remember correctly, A5 was the only good enough awakening because you can just summon an extra Stormbeak, an extra bird. But the fun thing is most of the time you just summon one and wipe all the enemies. So the second one tends to go to waste.
Yeah.
So it's just his awakenings are nothing too crazy.
Yeah, I agree. Like what he needs an awakening that like eases the condition to summon the Stormbeak, right? Something like
Exactly.
that. That'd be pretty cool. And yeah, again, if he was a normal unit, he's interesting enough. He can kind of be fun and random to play with. He's very unique. So if he was a normal unit, I think you could live with it. But the fact that this guy's an ancient exclusive, that's a tough pill to swallow.
Exactly.
All right, my friend. Thank you so much for coming on. Were there any other people on your honorable mentions we forgot to mention? I had a lot listed here.
Yeah, I would have also included Serafina.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't really like her at all, but it's not so terrible as other champs we have mentioned in the list. So I feel like she's avoiding the top 10 as of right now. We will see in a year.
Yeah, I felt the same way. Serafina, we'll just talk about her for 1 second. She suffers the fate of many single target mages. Single target mages are not. That's not really a role we need in this game. And if you're going to use it, you want the best of the best, right? You want Soul Cadence,
Yes.
you know. Even from her own faction, you would want a Nastia. And then if you had to settle and you wanted someone worse, you would go for a Lyra, who's so much better than Serafina. The whole point of Serafina is that she was going to be good in PvP, but the turns PvP is taken. There's no universe where anyone would use Jiggle Tits over here, right? It's just not going to happen.
There is no way.
There's no way. All right, let's finish with the patron saint of the bottom list, Mr. Cratch. Any final thoughts you have for the viewers?
No, that's it. I'm pretty happy to be here. I'm hoping we can do some more collabs in the future. And this is a fun one to begin with.
Exactly. And I would love to do plenty. I want to give you a big shout out as well. I was saving it for the end for the people that make it to the end and really care. But I did want to thank you. You are one of the most active members on my Discord. And it's not just like saying stuff. You're constantly giving advice. That's actually how I met you. It was, it might have been before you were doing content. You were just giving everyone such good advice all the time. You can see level 25 over here, about as high as any normal person this game would be, or at least on my Discord would be. I think I just saw one of my mods, Hawkus, one of my busiest mods on the Discord is only level 29. So that just shows how helpful you've been to my community. And you guys should definitely go join Mango's community and head over and subscribe to his channel. We'll do a lot more stuff. If people have any suggestions for collabs, let us know. We could definitely do more content-based stuff. That's your specialty, actual gameplay.
Yeah.
But I thought this was like a nice, chill introduction. So thank you,
Always
sir.
fun to help people and be here.
Well, thank you, sir. Thanks for coming on. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe to my channel too, but definitely check out the link for Mango in the description in the top pinned comment. I've been Fastidious. That's been Mango, and we'll see you real soon. Bye.
Fastidious.